Welcome to The Soul Mirror. I'm your host, Shreya, where consciousness meets compassion. Today's guest, Dr. Will Tuttle, a visionary thinker, award-winning author of The World Peace Diet, the profound voice for a spiritual ethical living. His work bridges mindfulness, veganism, and peace, reminding us that inner awakening and global healing begin with the same heartbeat of awareness. So, welcome, Dr. Will. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Thank you, Shreya. I'm glad to be here. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
And Dr. Will, your journey from Zen monk to global peace advocate is really inspiring. So, what first awakened your calling toward conscious and compassionate living?
Thank you. Yes, the story is kind of interesting because I was like everybody else. I ate a lot of meat, dairy products, and eggs, and I was very interested in trying to get ahead in the world when I was young. I was not particularly spiritually oriented. I loved nature. I loved athletics and sports and reading. And so I went away to college and I started to read in books from India and also China, some yoga, meditation, and I got very interested in that. And I was basically trained to take over my father's newspaper business in outside of Boston, Massachusetts, in the United States here. And but that changed everything. And so I realized very clearly that our life on this earth is quite short. So even though I was only maybe 19 years old or 20, I felt that it would be really a big distraction if I just tried to make money and get ahead in the world. It would be much better to have a spiritual life. And I discovered the teachings of Ramana Maharshi from India, who recommended that everybody do the best they can to ask the question, who am I? To go deeper with this self-inquiry, to realize that we're not our physical body, but what we are is consciousness, eternal consciousness that was never born and will never die. We function through a physical body for a few decades, but we're not this body. And so I decided with my younger brother, Ed, to leave home and right after college in 1975. So that's 50 years ago, actually, right now. And 50 years ago, we left home and we said goodbye to our parents, and we had their blessing, and had some fresh baked cookies from my mother. We told them we're going to walk all the way across the country to California with no money, and we're just going to meditate, and we hope to get enlightened. And so we thought that California would be the best place to get enlightened. But we did. We ended up just walking west for about a month as far as Buffalo, New York, and then we headed south because it was cold. It was October. Every day was getting colder and colder. So we just walked all the way down to Alabama in the southern part of the United States. It took us many months, and we, like I said, we had no money. Somehow, by some miracles, we didn't starve. We found food here and there, and we just spent the whole day walking and meditating. And it was a beautiful experience, really. I learned there's a lot of truth, really, to what the Bible says, Jesus says, to seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and everything else will be taken care of. And that's what we discovered that. It was really true. We just focused on sending love out into the world and trying to quiet our mind and meditate. And so, and we stopped for about a month or so at a community in Tennessee called The Farm, which at that point was the largest hippie commune in the world. About almost 1,000 people were living there, and they were all vegetarians. And so we were still eating meat. We would eat whatever we could get, really. But that's changed that. I've never eaten meat in my life since that day in 1975. And when I met my wife, Madeline, in Switzerland many years later, I found out the same month and year she also never ate meat again in her life, too, and in Switzerland. But but that was it. I never ate meat again. And then about 5 years later, in 1980, I made the connection between the cruelty, really, to cows for dairy products and to chickens for eggs. So I became a vegan in 1980. And then a few years later, I decided to become a monk, a Zen Buddhist monk. And so I went to South Korea and I lived there. And it was wonderful. It was a very intense meditation. And I realized when I was in South Korea in this Zen monastery that this was a community that had been practicing what we call vegan living for 750 years. No meat, no dairy products, no eggs, no milk, no leather, no wool, no silk, no killing animals, no killing insects even. It was really based on Ahimsa. The old Sanskrit word Ahimsa means non-harmfulness. I tried not to harm other living beings. And I realized that this is an ancient wisdom teaching from Asia, from India, and from Asia, that if we're really serious about spiritual awakening, about creating beautiful life, about having happy and healthy relationships, and creating a society where peace and justice and freedom and abundance and equality and justice are actually possible, then the best way to do that is to treat other living beings with kindness and respect, including animals, because animals are just like us. I mean, they have interests that are important to them, and they don't like to be imprisoned and abused and have their babies killed and so forth. So that's it. That really transformed my life. But it was a process. It took several months, but it was quite a wonderful, I have to say, a really wonderful adventure. The whole thing was a wonderful adventure from the very beginning. And now here it is 50 years later. I'm in my 70s. And I feel so happy. I have to say, I'm so happy that when I was young, I had that idea and I left home and I kind of left the world in a way. I mean, I came back. After living in a monastery in Korea, I decided to come back to the United States and teach college. So I did. I got my PhD at Berkeley in philosophy, and I taught philosophy and religion, and I also taught music because I'm a musician, and I compose music, and I have many CDs of original uplifting piano music out. But since then, I taught college for a few years, and then just decided to travel with my wife. I met Madeline in Switzerland. I traveled over to Europe. I was doing my best to spread peace, and I was going to Russia. It's the Soviet Union. It was called the Soviet Union back in the 1980s when I went, and they were the enemy of the United States. So I was over there playing concerts for peace to try to make better relationships between the countries of the world. And so I met Madeline in Switzerland, and then we ended up traveling for 17 years. I mean, we've been married now for over 30 years. And we just travel, and I've given over 4,000 lectures and concerts all over the world, 50 countries, all 50 states. And the whole point really is to just remind everyone that the earth is beautiful. It can support everyone on a fraction of the land. We can be healthy and happy. The most important thing really are two main things. One is to do the inner work of meditation to quiet our mind and to question all the programming of our society that confuses us. And the other thing is to have compassion for animals, especially not eat them. And because when we eat animals and pay people to imprison them and kill them and abuse them, then the old teaching of karma from India, whatever you sow, so shall you reap. So if we sow slavery and disease and misery, like we're doing now millions of times every day to these poor animals, cows and pigs and chickens and other animals, then the same thing happens to us. We find that we have disease, we have conflict, we have war, we have all everything we do to animals, it happens to us. So then I ended up writing these books and getting invited to speak all over the world again and travel. And it's been just a fantastic life, really, I have to say. And just to share this good news with everyone. It's basically what we call the golden rule. It's in every religion. Don't do to others what we would not want to have done to ourselves, and to give to others what we would like to have for ourselves. Love and generosity bring happiness and abundance to us. Whatever we put out comes back. It's called the boomerang effect. Whatever you put out comes back. And we live in a society that ignores that. We think we can manipulate animals and dominate them, and manipulate people and dominate them, and somehow be happy. But we can see that, no, that doesn't work. We're most happy when we try to do the best we can to help other people and support them and be kind and loving to animals and to ecosystems and to future generations. So it's a very simple message, really, but in our world today, it seems to have been forgotten. The ancient rishis of India understood this and told us a long time ago that we live in an illusion, really. It's our mind. Our mind is deluded, and so we don't see reality clearly. And if we want to live in reality, in truth, and be free, we have to clarify our mind. And that means to quiet the mind. So we're not just thinking all the time, which is not easy, but it's a great practice to quiet the mind and connect with our true nature. So thank you for that wonderful question. And I'm so glad we have this opportunity. Shreya, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for your sharing so much and for this great answer. And you have said everything so beautifully. And I'm really thankful to you. And this is a wonderful conversation with you. And if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
I think the best way to connect is really through our website. It's just either my name, Will Tuttle, WILLTUTTLE.com, or the book. It's World Peace Diet, worldpeacediet.com, because there we have writings like essays and articles. We have our schedule where we're traveling. We travel 5 months of the year, so we'll be leaving next month in November and traveling and giving lectures in the United States across the whole country until April of 2026. So that has our schedule. It has videos of my lectures and interviews. My wonderful wife, Madeline, she's a long-time vegan and has lots of cooking videos on how to prepare food. It's called Madeline's Intuitive Kitchen. And then we have our training, the World Peace Diet Facilitator training, and you can ask questions if you have a comment or concern. So we have all of our material there, and also music. I have quite a few CDs of music, and Madeline is an artist, and so her paintings and things are there, and also she plays the flute. So we have some CDs together as well, because our whole idea really is that the best way to spread the message of truth is through beauty. That when people hear beautiful music that's uplifting and inspiring, when people see art that really shows the beauty of animals and nature, then we are inspired to protect animals and protect nature. And so I'm very aware of the terrible things that are happening in the world to animals and to people. We lived in an RV, on the road with no house for 17 years, just traveling. And so we've been everywhere, all over the United States and all over the world. And I've seen the the terrible suffering that animals go through in slaughterhouses and factory farms and stockyards and so forth, and the people that have to do that work, how they suffer also. And so we've been able to see all of the terrible things, but we've also been able to see all the beautiful things, the beautiful people who are working to help bring more kindness and love in our relationships with each other and with animals, and helping to feed hungry people and helping to protect animals and helping to protect the environment. There's so many people doing wonderful things. And not only that, but there's so many animals that are living in nature freely. It's wonderful, I think, to take time every day to enjoy seeing birds flying in the trees, and to enjoy knowing that we live on a beautiful planet. It's still beautiful, and there's a lot of animals experiencing freedom, a lot of human beings doing creative, kind, loving things, and learning and growing and awakening. And I think really at the foundation of human consciousness, there is an awakening happening, that we are, as a humanity, we are growing. There's a lot of division and a lot of fear that's being, I think, promoted by the media. But at a deeper level, there's a lot more kindness and love and caring and wisdom that is growing. So I think it's really important to have conversations like we're having here, and also to have platforms like the Soul Mirror that provide a place for us to remember the deeper truths that in many ways are forgotten in our busy lives. And we're so focused very often on just trying to survive and make enough money so we can buy food and pay the rent. But it's so much more important that we realize that we are eternal beings of light and wisdom and awareness, and that we're here to learn and grow and to contribute and to help others, and to cultivate the most fundamental quality, really, which is gratitude. To cultivate a feeling of gratitude, and I think whatever we're grateful for increases. So the very first thing in the morning, we can just say, thank you. I've got another wonderful opportunity to live and grow and share and learn and contribute. Can't wait to see what can happen today, right? Have that basic feeling of gratitude. And it just, from there, it just expands and goes out into the whole web of relationships, because we're interconnected with every living being on this planet. We're all interconnected because at a deep level, there's one life and it lives through all of us. So we're all related. All the human beings are related, and all living beings are related to each other. We're all manifestations of one infinite life. So when we feel that, then we naturally have a sense of joy and a sense that no one can actually harm us. So when we leave this body, we're more alive then than we are now, actually. So it's important to understand that this whole fear of dying or fear of being sick, we don't need to have those kinds of things. And that's really one of the things that I have a new book called The World Peace Way. The subtitle of that is The 6 Keys to Health and Harmony for All. And that's a book that focuses more on practical tips, things we can actually do. So the 6 keys that I talk about in that book are nutrition, which is important, diet, not only what we're eating, but also what we're drinking, how we're breathing, what we're reading, what we're using on our skin. So many people put all kinds of toxic things on their skin and clothes and so forth. So really to try to stop being poisoned by chemicals. That's number one. Number 2 is having a spiritual path, a spiritual practice. Number 3 is cultivating healthy relationships. People can be eating very healthy food and exercising, but if our relationships are not really harmonious, then very often we get sick. So it's important to really go out of our way to be kind and loving to everyone in our life. And then the fourth is movement and exercise. And then there's also the fifth and sixth are to connect with nature and to be creative. And these six things are, when we cultivate our creativity, our music and art and writing and dancing and movement and all kinds of things, inventing and repairing, whatever we're doing, like what you're doing with your Soul Mirror podcast is very creative. We're creating a whole conversation, right? So I think all these six keys, these are things we can all practice. And when we do that, we're part of the healing of planet Earth. So that people can find out more about all these things on our website. And also, like our books are available through Amazon, or the music also, or all, any place, any bookstore, pretty much.
Yes. And I'll definitely make sure to attach all these details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily. And with that, for our listeners, Dr. Tuttle leaves us with a message, both gentle and revolutionary, that peace begins on our place, in our thoughts and in our heart. His journey calls us to awaken our compassion, live consciously, and see every being as part of our shared soul. So reflect, realign, and remember the mirror of the soul always shows the truth of love. Right?